I'm getting a hint of cinnamon.
It's interesting. You're getting more on the nose than I am.
I completely made that up, by the way. So there are only about 400 odd people who are masters of wine, and you're probably the only one from India, right?
More people have been into space than have ever become masters of wine.
Excellent.
When I go on dates, I'm a little confused when the sommelier walks up to me and asks me what kind of wine I want.
Cabernet Sauvignon, Merlot, Shiraz, Sangiovese.
Which ones are red and which ones are white?
These are all black grape varieties. And some of the white grape varieties are Chardonnay, Sauvignon Blanc, Chenin Blanc, Riesling, perhaps Pinot Grigio.
Generally, when people store their wine, the amateurs at least, we're just storing it in our bar at regular temperatures, and it's warm in India.
So the Europeans said drink red wines at room temperature, and we should again not listen to the Europeans because they are coming from a space where they are going by their room temperature.
Exactly.
And their room temperatures are often much lower than Indian room temperature.
Yeah. Now, typically, a lot of these wines have been paired with European food, right?
White wine with white meat and red wine with red meat. And that's the first rule to throw out of the window, by the way.
In India, we also have butter chicken, kali dal, chicken tikka, tandoori chicken. We have an Indian palate. What kind of wines work well with Indian food?
So Indian cuisine poses a challenge that the Europeans were not prepared for.
Recession, wars, good economy, bad economy. Everybody wants a glass of whiskey.
So India drinks half of the world's whiskey. And we drink more whiskey than Scotland produces.
Okay.
So our love affair with whiskey doesn't seem to be fading anytime soon.
Wine, whiskey, gin, champagne, rum, vodka, tequila, the biggest aphrodisiac. Sorry to bother you, but I'm having a little party at Dublin at the ITC Grand Central Mumbai. Good food, great drinks, and brilliant company. And guess what? You're invited. You coming? Sonal, welcome to the Plush podcast.
Such a pleasure to be here today.
We met at a wine tasting, I think it was last year.
Yes.
And I made a mental note that whenever I do a podcast on wine, I got to get Sonal on board.
Of course, who else?
Yeah, and that manifestation worked. So let's start off with your journey. I was researching a bit, and I found out that you started off somewhere in your 30s, which is maybe a couple of years ago. And you started off in the corporate sector. You were working for a NASDAQ listed company, and then you moved on to the wine industry. So how did that happen?
Yes, I was 33
Okay.
when the calling came to me that I need to reinvent myself. This was at a time when I was working for a Fortune 500 NASDAQ listed company, earning a 7-figure salary. So
Wow.
to the outside world, including my own parents, who were very proud of me at the time, I was doing very well.
Yeah.
And because this was a multinational company, I was learning all the workings of a MNC, traveling overseas every now and then at conferences. So everything was peachy perfect, except that there was a voice inside of me telling me that I'm not happy,
Yeah.
and that I'm not utilizing my fullest potential.
Mhm.
And I just wanted to do something else that would give me an opportunity to explore my own skills better. But I didn't know what it was. So I thought about many different things. What could it be? Should I start a new restaurant? But then I realized my love for eating far exceeds my love for trying to run a restaurant. Should I start another recruitment and staffing company? Because this company that I was working at was the world's 4th largest staffing company. But then I thought, it's an idea that's been done to death.
Sure.
So I suppose I was looking to do something entirely new. And that is when wine as an idea came to me like a bolt of lightning. At this time, the wine industry was so nascent. There was just a handful of producers producing wine.
Uh-huh.
Very, very early nascent interest in wine among consumers.
Mhm.
a few brands of imported expensive wines being imported in the country and largely available only in luxury 5-star hotels. But there was no qualified wine expert. There was no qualified wine professional. But when I looked to the West, I realized that this is a very serious career and a serious profession. And people who've studied and have invested years in understanding about wine eventually end up becoming the cultural custodians of wine and sort of become the educators and the voice of wine in that particular country. But there was no voice like that in India. And I thought, whoa, what a great opportunity for me to take over that position.
So that's really interesting because most people want to chase their passion, right?
Yes.
So I would have assumed that you already loved wine and you wanted to make a business around that.
Yeah.
But here you probably didn't love wine and you just spotted an opportunity and you went straight for it.
I'd had a few glasses of wine because I was at the time dating Andrew, who's now my husband. And he had introduced me to wine on a few of our own dates. And I've had the pleasure of traveling with him to the UK, where we sat with family and friends, often enjoying a glass of wine with an Indian meal. We all know how popular Indian meals are in the UK.
Yes.
And so that did occasionally have me wonder whether wine could ever be this popular in India. But I was certainly not knowledgeable about wines. And I most certainly wasn't in love with it as a drink.
Right.
I often like to joke and say that my tryst with wine was more like an arranged marriage rather than a love marriage. I decided and I chose strategically to start studying about wine, to build a career in wine. And I worked on a certain level of gumption and conviction that came within me. But my love affair with wine really started when I started studying wine.
Right.
When I flew to London and I started taking some of the early courses, I realized how deep and how fascinating and how wondrous this beverage is. And there's so much to know and that you can never know enough. And when I started to do exceedingly well in the examinations and a couple of early gigs that I got where I had the opportunity to communicate about wine, I realized I'm able to speak about it with a great deal of passion. And I think all of this collectively then sort of was like some universal signal to me that you're good at this, you're enjoying this. And from then on, I never stopped. I continued to deepen my knowledge, both through formal education, but as well as informal, experiences with wine.
You get passionate about things you start excelling at, right? So
exactly.
It's the other way around.
You tend to do more of what you believe you're good at and what you kind of tend to get more appreciation for.
Absolutely.
So some of the early, wine tastings that I started conducting for consumers, they would often come up to me and say, wow, you're really good at this.
Right.
And how many years have you been doing this? And I was just a beginner.
Yeah.
But I remember at the time I would often fake it till I make it kind of attitude. So I would often say, oh, yeah, I've been doing it for a few years now, knowing fully well I wasn't. But those to me were early signals that I've embarked on the right path. And that was very reinforcing for me. So I continued to study and my ultimate aim, as you know, at the time was to eventually try and become India's first master of wine.
So there are only about 400 odd people who are masters of wine and you're probably the only one from India, right?
The Master of Wine is a global title which is given and awarded by the Institute of Masters of Wine, which is based in London, UK. And it is widely regarded as the world's most respected and a highly coveted title because pass rates are notoriously low on the examinations that you take to achieve the title. And even as I speak, there are only 425 Masters of Wine across 30 odd countries.
Wow.
So my favorite parallel to share on that is that more people have been into space than have ever become masters of wine.
Oh, okay.
And it requires a very, very deep learning and understanding and a heavy investment in terms of time, effort, commitment in order to pass these exams, pass rates on which are notoriously low. So from the day I embarked on my wine journey to achieving the Master of Wine title was a 10-year-long journey, 6 years of which was spent on with the Institute of Masters of Wine, earning the title. But some of the early years was spent in doing some of the more fundamental sort of early courses in wine.
Right.
And a journey which I started in 2007, eventually in 2016, I did earn the title and I did become India's first Master of Wine. And I'm, as of yet, India's only Master of Wine.
Wow, congratulations.
Thank you very much.
And you certainly seem to be flying really high because I just found out that you're also the wine consultant for Air India, 35,000 feet. So tell us how that happened.
That was a very interesting opportunity to get and a highly gratifying experience. About 2 years ago, I heard from the Air India team that they were looking to change their wine program and they were looking to improve their wine selections. And I thought it was a fantastic opportunity to be given a chance to work on this as a project. My goal at the time was to try and build a wine selection that is truly representative of the ambition of Air India to become a world-class airline, particularly after the Tata family takeover.
Sure.
And I tried to put together a selection of wines that represent diversity, high quality. And yeah, I'm very proud. There's been great feedback. So if you happen to fly on Air India on an international sector anytime soon, you will hopefully enjoy a wide range of amazing high quality wines that are being offered, particularly in the business and the first class.
So yeah, make your money and fly business. So you can sample some of her selections. You mentioned you and Andrew used to discuss this business opportunity over a few glasses of wine, and he introduced you to wine as well, right?
Yes.
And whenever you guys went out on a few dates. And I can certainly tell you that he's had more luck on dates than I have, because when I go on dates, I'm a little confused when the sommelier walks up to me and asks me what kind of wine I want. So I want you to really demystify this space for me. So myself included, and people like me, when they go out on dates, so when they go to a restaurant, they're not completely clueless when they're ordering wine. So let's start with that.
Sure.
There are different kinds, right? And when a sommelier walks up to you, there's Shiraz, there's Riesling, there's Chardonnay, there's Merlot. Just walk us through all of these. Which ones should I be choosing?
So the names that you just rattled are all names of grape varieties.
Yes.
And
which ones are red and which ones are white?
So Cabernet Sauvignon, Merlot, Shiraz, Sangiovese. I could go on and on because there are over 1,000 different grape varieties.
Main 3, 4,
But these are the Pinot Noir. These are all black grape varieties. We call them black grape varieties, but they make red wines.
Okay.
And some of the white grape varieties, the popular ones, or what we call the noble grape varieties, are Chardonnay, Sauvignon Blanc, Chenin Blanc, Riesling, perhaps Pinot Grigio.
Yeah.
These are some of the white grape varieties.
Blanc also means white.
Blanc also means white. So there's a clue that actually makes white wines.
Yeah. And I want to do a few wine tastings with you.
Okay.
To really demystify and break down the whole wine snobbery bit, because I've tried doing that and sometimes it's a little confusing. So let's pour ourselves a couple of glasses of wine. And I know we're shooting in the morning, but what the hell? So we have a couple of glasses of white wine. Cheers.
Cheers.
Yeah. And I guess you're supposed to hold it by the stem.
Yes.
Yeah. Is that right?
Think of the stem as the handle of the glass.
You're not supposed to hold it like this.
I wouldn't scold you if you did so.
Yeah.
But this will try and warm up your wine quickly because generally the palm of our hands are quite warm.
Got it.
So it's probably best, especially with whites, because you want to keep them cold and you want to be able to enjoy them cold because that's how they're more refreshing.
Right. Okay, so we're holding it at the stem.
Yeah.
And there's a thumb rule, which is, I think it's known as the 5 S's, right?
Yes.
And that's, I think, C, which is C.
Yeah.
Swirl.
Well done.
Sniff.
Yes, exactly right.
What else? Sip.
Sip.
Sip. Then you sip one. And then you savor it.
That's correct.
Yeah.
I often like to think of savor as share.
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 Okay.
And
when you're swirling it and when you're taking in the aromas.
Right.
Let's see.
I feel like Rahul's teaching me wine tasting, but I'm enjoying it.
It's a bit light. It's a bit, I'm getting a hint of cinnamon. A little smoky.
It's interesting. You're getting more on the nose than I am.
I completely made that up, by the way. So, I've done a couple of wine appreciation courses, classes, sessions, and I never quite get this whole swirling and the whole snobbery behind it.
So this is a Sauvignon Blanc
Okay.
grape variety,
Yeah.
which is a very popular grape variety.
Yeah.
And it typically makes aromatic wines. So there is a bit of aromas coming through. And you might be perhaps getting a bit of grass, maybe some grassy, herbaceous sort of notes. Maybe even...
I generally just nod my head when someone says that.
Yeah, everyone does that. It's fine. Just nod along. So Sauvignon Blanc typically will give you fresh, sort of herbaceous aromas.
Okay.
You may even get, if it's a riper expression,
Mm-hmm.
you might even get some guavas. If it's more on the greener side, perhaps a touch of capsicum.
Okay.
Um,
Are you
you could-
actually getting capsicum and
I'm not getting-
guavas?
I'm not getting capsicum on this one. No, I'm just generally trying to explain
Yeah.
the Sauvignon Blanc
What are you getting on this one?
prototype. I'm actually getting a lot of grassy notes. I'm getting some
Okay.
white elderflower, white flowers. Maybe a touch of fennel. And not very much else. It's a simple wine.
Okay.
So simple wine will smell simple. And you mentioned it being light. So light can be interpreted as two things. You can say firstly it's light intensity. So the intensity of the aromas is light. But if you're talking in terms of describing the body, then that can only be done on tasting.
Now, typically, when you order something like this at a restaurant and you want to order some appetizers as well,
Yeah.
is there a thumb rule of, white wines pair with certain foods and red wines pair with different kinds of foods and champagnes probably pair with
Right.
something else?
So to make it really easy, I firstly want to say that white wines are more compatible with a wider range of foods as opposed to reds.
Mm-hmm.
Because reds have the tannins, which you have to worry about and
Yeah.
think about a
Mhm.
bit more when it comes to pairing. But white wines are essentially consumed a bit colder than reds.
Mhm.
They are refreshing. They generally tend to be more mouth-watering,
Mm-hmm.
zingy. And so they're more compatible with a wider range of foods. And I would think of pairing in terms of trying to pair the weight of the wine with the weight of the food,
Okay.
or the flavor intensity with the flavor intensity. That's a good sort of a benchmark, a good place to
So
start.
what would you
So
pair
to
this
me,
with?
this is a very light-bodied wine,
So you want
and I would
light food.
want to have light foods.
Okay.
So what kind of light foods do you like? So something that we enjoy in appetizers. I could say a sushi.
Okay.
You could say nuts, salted nuts.
Salted nuts. Yeah.
Something to start the evening. Anything that is, anything that is lightly cooked,
Yeah.
something that is simply boiled or poached, like poached prawns, perhaps.
Yeah.
A salad. All kinds of foods that are really light. It's also quite mouth-watering.
Yeah.
And you feel that your mouth is, it's quite
A little bit.
refreshing.
Now that you
Yeah.
mention it.
You could have it even with a creamy soup, like a cream of asparagus, a cream of mushroom.
Now, typically, a lot of these wines have been paired with European food, right?
Yes.
Cheeses, for example. What kind of cheeses would you pair this with?
I would definitely have this wine with a lighter kind of a cheese.
We have some cheese right here. Can we get some cheese,
you go.
please?
Yeah.
Yeah. What should we pair this with?
I would go with something that is creamy,
Okay.
something light.
Okay.
So you could pair a Sauvignon Blanc either with a fresh cheese, like a burrata or a mozzarella, a goat cheese. And
Yeah.
you could even go with something that is very creamy, fatty, like brie, a
Mhm.
camembert.
Mhm.
That would work really wonders with it. If you go with a more harder and a more fuller cheese, like a Comté or a Parmigiano or Reggiano, perhaps the wine will be a bit weak as compared to those. So I would prefer to have more reds with those kind of cheeses.
Mhm.
But something light, fresh, creamy could work wonders with a Sauvignon Blanc. A Sauvignon Blanc and a goat cheese, by the way, is considered a classic pairing. They often say like a salad with goat cheese and a Sauvignon Blanc is the textbook pairing.
Goat cheese with white wine.
Yes.
Yeah, I'll remember that. On the other hand, look, while cheeses are great and a lot of households serve cheese along with their wines, wine and cheese is a very popular pairing, of course. But in India, we also have butter chicken, kali dal, chicken tikka, tandoori chicken. We have an Indian palate. So what kind of wines work well with Indian food?
So Indian cuisine poses a challenge that the Europeans were not prepared for.
Right.
I think at the time when Europeans made the food and wine pairing,
Mhm.
they oversimplified it by saying, white wine with white meats and red wines with red meats.
Mhm.
And that's the first rule to throw out of the window, by the way.
Oh, it is.
Yeah, totally. Because if you look typically at European foods, and especially the classic traditional dishes, a lot of it was just meat based with a bit of tempering of salt and pepper
Right.
sprinkled on top.
Right.
So it was fairly easy to work out that, okay, high protein meats will work better with red wines because they tend to soften the tannins in red wines. And some of the lighter seafood dishes, which were mainly steamed or poached, would work better with whites. And yes, they're not wrong about that. But I think when you take into consideration more Asian food and also Indian within that, you're talking, the whole paradigm changes because in India, the flavors are dominated by the method of cooking. It's dominated by the sauces, the spices, the variety of ingredients that go into it. And so in the larger context, what ingredient goes into, what the main hero ingredient of the dish is often not the most dominating force that influences the flavor of the dish. So there's many other things that you need to take into consideration. I must say though at this stage that when it comes to pairing, overtly spicy or fiery food,
Which is what we have often.
do you think so? I actually find Indian food a bit more nuanced than that.
No, it
Overseas,
can be spicy depending on the dish you have. You can have Goan food. You can have certain dishes which are Hyderabadi chicken, for example,
yeah,
which can be pretty spicy.
fiery, yes.
Yeah.
So I would say moderately spiced is okay because there is still scope.
Yeah.
If any Indian dish is too spicy, then basically your taste buds are going to be in fire.
Yeah.
And that will mean that your main tasting apparatus has been set ablaze. So forget about the food. You're not even going to be able to taste the wine. You're not going to be able to taste anything. You're just going to be reaching out for a glass of water,
Yeah.
or basically you're going to be guzzling your wine as a thirst quencher or something to douse the flames.
Yes.
So the whole pairing concept just goes out of the window completely. So moderately spiced works because you can often contrast it with slightly off-dry wines, which add a bit of sweetness, a touch of sweetness, which helps to moderate the fieriness, the spiciness of the dish.
So what kind of wines?
So off-dry wines can be white wines like a Chenin Blanc. Sometimes a Riesling from Germany can be a bit off-dry. There's a variety of white wines that can be off-dry. A vast majority of red wines tend to be dry, on the dry side. But I would say if you prefer a red...
When you say dry, what exactly do you mean?
So dry may sound like a pejorative term. It may sound like a negative word to use, but actually it's not. In the world of wines, dry is often used to describe wines that are not sweet. The lack of sweetness is dry. And may I say, a vast majority of the wines made around the world are in fact dry. Most reds are dry, and a lot of whites also tend to be dry.
I was out on a date not too long ago, and the lady asked for a dry wine. So if a majority of the wines are dry, why would you ask for a dry wine?
Because there can be a lot of inexpensive, everyday drinking wines can often be off-dry or slightly on the sweeter side because they sometimes lack in flavor. The wine producers, just before bottling, add a little bit of sweetness just to bump up the fruitiness of the wine, just to make it a bit more delicious, to add a little dimension of flavor to the wine. It's often done. So a lot of inexpensive wines tend to be off-dry. This is not a rule, but I'm just making a very general statement. And once you've developed a taste for wine and you've sort of realized that you prefer drier styles, I think it's important to specify that at a restaurant, especially if you're going to be purchasing a wine that is inexpensive.
Right.
If you're going to be choosing at the lower end of its price point spectrum,
which is what I
it's
would.
important to specify. Yes.
Yeah.
Did you get the second date?
But I'm about to find out.
Okay.
Yeah. There's a really interesting thing, another interesting point that comes to my mind, especially when you're out on the date and we're having a couple of drinks, not just wine, but could be any spirit as well. Especially if you're out on a first date.
Yes.
You've just met someone, maybe you've swiped right on an app, and you're having a nice conversation with your date, and either one needs to get up and go to the restroom. Is there a thumb rule there that you should perhaps finish your drink because you don't know what's going to happen if you leave your glass unattended?
Yes, if it's a blind date you've just gone on and you're meeting this person for the first time,
Yeah.
my recommendation would be that you finish your cocktail or your drink, whatever it is you're having, and then excuse yourself. And then when you're back, you're ready to order your next drink.
Okay.
Than leaving your drink unattended, especially if you're with a stranger or somebody you've just met.
Absolutely. And that's
Somebody you
happens,
don't
right?
necessarily have to trust.
Yes.
It's always to be on the safer side,
Yes.
you know. And when it comes to young people, of course, subject to the fact that they're of a legal drinking age. But if you're out at a bar, if you're out at a disco, someplace really noisy, don't ever leave your drink unattended. You may be surrounded by a lot of people. You may be in a very crowded public place. Don't ever leave your drink unattended. Or actually, don't even accept a drink from somebody who's just gone to the bar and brought you a drink.
Right.
You should always make it a point to go to the bar yourself and say, I'm going to order my own drink. You know?
That's a good point.
Yeah. Even if someone else offers to pay for it,
Right.
just accompany them to the bar,
Mm-hmm.
order what you want,
Mm-hmm.
and then make sure you're in charge of picking your own glass.
Right. You know, you see that in the movies where this suave gentleman is sitting at a table and there's a beautiful woman across the bar and he sends a nice cocktail or a glass of champagne for her.
Right?
And that's fine for the movies, but in real life,
In real
perhaps
life,
in these times, you want to be a little careful.
better to be safe than sorry.
Okay, got it. Now, another situation, yeah. I want to talk about hosting at home. I enjoy hosting at home and, you know, having a few friends over impromptu. And sometimes I'm confused as to what my home bar should look like.
Yes.
Yeah. What are the non-negotiables? What are some of the wines and spirits I must have when I'm hosting at home?
So, firstly, I just want to say that embellishing your home bar has become the new lifestyle statement.
Yeah.
People love to have parties at home.
Yeah.
It's also a more affordable way to drink, given
Yes,
the exorbitant,
absolutely. Yes.
given the more exorbitant markups on drinks at restaurants and bars outside.
Yeah.
So, and it's also, it kind of allows you to make a personal statement.
Mhm.
So, I wouldn't say anything is sort of a non-negotiable, although there are a few. I mean, I can give you a few guidelines, but everything is subject to what you want to put out and what you enjoy and what's your personal preference. But I would say, given that India loves its whiskeys, 2 or 3 different styles of whiskeys are non-negotiable.
Like a
Of which
blended
one
whiskey?
could be a blended whiskey.
Like a Black Label or a Shiraz Regal?
I would definitely go with a blended whiskey from Scotland,
Okay.
right? Because they make really good ones, as they do with all other whiskeys. And in terms of single malt, I would go with either one from Japan or back again in Scotland. And I would most certainly have one offering from India, because we've all heard about how fantastic the Indian single malt scene is and how well the Indian single malts are doing in the moment.
Yeah, there's
They're
some
all the rage.
fantastic new brands that have come about, right?
There's some incredible choice out there.
Mhm.
And I think as consumers, we're really spoiled for choice. And it's really nice to be able to show one of your own personal favorites, that there are so many brands out there. So just go try a few, see which one sort of relates to your style, but definitely showcase one Indian single malt. Other than whiskeys, of course, if I'm talking about gins, and if you can only show one brand, you could perhaps try showcasing an Indian craft gin. There are a lot of brands out there again, but India is really doing gins very well.
Like a Jaisalmer?
Like a Jaisalmer gin. If you've tried it, it's a very it's a classic London dry gin style.
Mhm. Again, when you say dry, you mean it's not flavored?
So in the gin context, dry is slightly different. London dry gin, firstly, can be made anywhere in the world, not necessarily in London. But the word dry insinuates that, yes, it is dry to taste. It's not sweet. But also that's because it does not allow any addition of sugar or any kind of additives after the distillation process is completed. So in that sense, it kind of points towards some form of
Right.
purity or no sort of mixture
Right.
and so on.
And tequila is having its moment as well.
Tequila is exploding at the moment.
Yes.
A very, very exciting category to have.
Uh-huh.
And I would definitely have a tequila there from Jalisco in Mexico, which they call Mexico. And yes, I would try and have 2 styles of tequilas there. I would have definitely a Blanco, because everyone likes to sip on a high quality white tequila.
Mhm.
But also maybe have an aged style, which which has anejo written on the label.
Anejo.
Anejo, which is
That's
spelt as Anejo, but J
is
is
silent.
her.
Yeah, in Spanish. Yeah. Okay, so there are two kinds of tequilas. There's gin. There's vodkas as
Yeah,
well.
vodkas. Let's not forget vodkas.
Yeah.
So
And then
maybe
there's a blended whiskey and a single
a couple
malt,
of single balls.
and of course your beer
And
and
don't forget the wine.
wine. How can we forget
Yes,
the wine?
I know. Don't forget the wine.
Yeah.
Up until 5 or 10 years ago, when I would go to people's homes, I could never be sure there's wine on the menu. People would almost offer it forgettably, But today, I feel so happy to say that every home I go to, there's always wine on the menu. There's always wine being offered, whether it's someone's home, whether it's at corporate dinners, whether it's an Indian wedding. Wine is always being offered today. So I think wine has increasingly become a very mainstream drink,
Yeah.
and is being widely consumed by Indian wine lovers across a wide spectrum of occasions.
So how do I store my wine? Most
Carefully.
people just keep it in their fridge.
Well, you can put it in your food fridge as long as you're keeping it for a short period of time, and as long as you promise to consume that bottle of wine within 1 or 2 months. But if
1 or
you
2
look-
months.
1 or 2 months max.
Okay.
Yeah. If you're looking at long-term storage, or you think you're going to put that bottle away and then forget about it for the next 6 months and suddenly remember one day, oh my God, I tucked that bottle in, then a food fridge is probably not the ideal way to store your bottle of wine, because a food fridge is actually very cold. It operates at very low temperatures of 2 to 3 degrees Celsius. The ideal storage temperature for wine is between 11 to 14
Degrees Celsius.
degrees Celsius.
Uh-huh.
And so the right thing to do is to have a wine fridge, a wine cooler, at its most simplest version, which essentially operates at that temperature range and allows you to keep that wine in the optimal temperature. You could ask me what happens to the bottle of wine that is stored in a food fridge. Well, what will happen is, if it's covered with cork, and I'm sure some of you are going to relate to this, but if you remove that bottle of wine after a couple of months,
Yeah.
and you suddenly try to uncork it with a corkscrew,
Yeah.
you realize that the cork comes crumbling out.
Yes.
It
It's happened to
breaks,
me.
it disintegrates. Has it happened to you?
Yes.
And it happens not because the wine is spoiled. It's because the cork is actually supposed to be a natural product that is elastic.
Yes.
It dries out. It loses all its moisture. It even shrinks to an extent. It makes the wine more susceptible to oxidation,
Mm-hmm.
which is never a good idea.
Mm-hmm.
But because it shrinks and it dries out, it loses its elasticity. And when you try to uncork the bottle, it comes disintegrating. If that ever happens to you, by the way, it doesn't mean your wine is spoiled. If you end up with some cork particles in your bottle of wine, simply take it through a filter, a sieve, even your chai ka chalni,
Huh.
and just drink the wine.
Okay. That's pretty interesting, because generally when people store their wine, the amateurs at least, we're just storing it in our bar at regular temperatures, and it's warm in India.
Yeah.
And you generally put it in the fridge for a
Just
bit.
before service.
Just before serving. If someone's coming home, you'll probably leave it in the fridge for a bit. Even your red wines. I believe you're not supposed to keep your red wines in the fridge, but the temperatures in India are so high
Yeah.
that these wines, let's say they're made for 16 to 18 degrees Celsius, but at 30, 35 degrees Celsius, you may want to chill your red wine for a bit as well. Is that true?
So the Europeans said drink red wines at room temperature. And we should, again, not listen to the Europeans, because they are coming from a space where they are going by their room temperature.
Exactly.
And their room temperatures are often much, much lower than Indian room temperatures.
Yeah.
Our Indian room temperatures right now are absolutely scary.
Yes.
So there is no chance you can, because if you're going to drink red wine at Indian room temperature, it's going to taste tart, alcoholic, bitter, everything negative, basically. All the negative elements about the wine are going to be accentuated. You're hardly going to taste any fruit. You're not going to enjoy it. So it's very, very important to drink red wine also much cooler. And I would say the max temperature you should consume red wine is at 18 degrees Celsius.
Okay.
15 probably better. So in a range of 15 to 18 degrees. So if you're at a restaurant and you order a bottle of red wine, by all means, if it's being served to you absolutely warm, ask for an ice bucket, insist on an ice bucket, and make sure you tuck that bottle in for at least 10 minutes or so before you pour it in your glass and start enjoying it.
Okay. So Sonal, I barely drink. and I'm pretty fitness conscious as well. And often I want to have a drink which has either no alcohol or low alcohol. So what are my options there?
I think one thing that is trending in India at the moment is this category called NOLO. NOLO essentially stands for no alcohol and low alcohol.
Yeah.
There are a few brands, excitingly, that are entering India that are offering no alcohol drinks.
Okay.
One brand that I can mention at the top of my head is Edenvale.
Edenvale. Okay.
They are Australia's number one leading no alcohol wine company.
Mm-hmm.
And they produce a range of no alcohol wines,
Mm-hmm.
which are made with different grape varieties. So they have a Sauvignon Blanc, they have a Chardonnay.
Okay.
So they have a couple of variants that are even oak aged.
Right.
The idea is to showcase the variety typicity, the flavors and aromas that come from the varieties,
Mm-hmm.
but there is no alcohol. But what they do is they actually make the wine first, and then they use very superior technology to remove the alcohol
Mm-hmm.
from the drink. And so what you're drinking is you get the taste, you get the flavor, you get the texture, you get the mouthfeel, but just no alcohol. So that's great for people who want to hold a nice glass of wine.
Yeah, you want to be part of a
You
celebration.
want to be part of the celebration. You don't want to feel left out. You don't miss out on the ritual. You feel the vibe, but you're not consuming alcohol. And it's great, in fact, for a number of people. If you're having an early start the next day, if a lady's pregnant, if you're underage, and let's face it, Rahul, whenever we throw a party, there's always going to be a few guests who don't drink,
Yes.
right? And it's always an awkward moment when they say, I don't drink. It's almost like they're apologetic telling you they don't drink.
And there's always those one or two guys who insist that you have a drink. That's true.
Yes, and then you're almost as the host.
Yeah.
Like you're so strapped for choice. Like it's like, what are you going to offer them? Nimbu pani or one of those sugary juices, which is never an attractive option.
Uh-huh.
So think about how sophisticated as a host you'll come across if you're actually serving one of these no alcohol beverages. And there's also a range of whiskeys and gins and vodkas, by the way.
By the same brand?
There is this very exciting platform called Dry Drinks.
Uh-huh.
And the drinks is spelled as DRNKS. So it's drydrinks.com.
Uh-huh.
And it's India's first pioneering platform or marketplace for zero alcohol beverages.
Okay.
And they have a range of wines, spirits that are on offer, and they're all no alcohol. And but they still give you the flavor. So yeah, something worth checking out. And just this morning, I was reading up something about skinny cocktails.
Mm-hmm.
See, people love cocktails.
Yes.
People love cocktails because there is a sense of discovery, there's a sense of adventure, different tastes, different ingredients. But they almost always come with too much sugar.
Yeah.
But increasingly nowadays, mixologists are working towards skinny cocktails, which means these are going to be lower in alcohol and low on sugar as well.
Mm-hmm.
So they cut on calories, and they're more ingredient focused.
Right.
They allow you to,
Right. Let's say I do enjoy the occasional drink.
Yeah.
But I want to be calorie conscious.
Mm-hmm.
So I generally have a gin and tonic or maybe a gin and soda. Is that the right way to go, or there are some other better options as well, like a tequila soda?
I would say soda is a better choice than tonic.
Okay.
Unless the tonic water, for a fact, has very low levels of sugar. I often find a lot of these commercial tonic waters, they are also very sweet.
Yes.
And so what you're trying to save up on the alcohol just sort of adds up by way of the sugar calories.
Yeah.
So I'm not a big fan of tonic waters. I often
no
find
more gin and tonic.
I often find they also dominate the taste of the drink.
Yeah.
They often kill the actual spirit. I like my spirits neat. I often enjoy them neat.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would say soda is a better choice if you're looking for dilution.
Sure.
Or just a few drops of water. Maybe even a cube of ice is not incorrect.
Which has the least number of calories out of all these spirits?
Anything with water or soda. Oh, you mean among all the
spirits that you can combine with soda, that you can pair with soda?
See, I mean, give or take, right? We're not gonna calculate calories down to like 5 or 10 calorie differences.
Of course.
But I would say among wines, a glass of champagne, a glass of prosecco, which is a low alcohol sparkling wine. Anything, in fact, that is low alcohol will.
Or like a gin and soda, or perhaps.
But if you're having spirits, then I would say vodka with soda water, or gin with water,
or even tequila with
tequila. Yeah, I think any of the white spirits, but equally whiskey.
Okay.
I mean,
like a single malt.
What's wrong with sipping on a high quality whiskey with nothing in it?
Yeah.
I mean, I do that all the time, and I think it's fantastic.
Okay. Now here's another scenario, right? Again, I mentioned I'm not a huge drinker, But let's say I've gone for a party and I've had one drink,
Hmm.
maybe at like 9 p.m.
Yeah.
and I'm driving home. Now, the ideal thing to do is not drink at all,
Yeah.
or drink one of those no alcohol drinks if
Yes.
people are serving them. But let's say I've had a drink at 9 p.m. How long should I wait before I get behind the wheel?
So science tells us that your body takes at least an hour to metabolize one drink, one standard drink.
Yeah.
Which is typically a 30 ml pour of a spirit.
Yeah.
Or let's say a 120 to 150 ml pour of wine.
Mm-hmm.
And the body should take about an hour to metabolize it.
Mm-hmm.
So definitely not drink straight away and get behind the wheel, which is anyway a terrible idea.
Yes.
Regardless of whether you get caught or not caught, I would never advise. In the very ideal world, I would say just don't drink and drive. Just don't drink at all. But if you really want to try and have a drink, I would say give it an hour, hour and a half before you get behind the wheel.
Yeah. And what should you be lining your stomach
You
with?
should definitely be eating before, during, after, and hydration as well.
So drink a
drinking-
couple of glasses of water.
Just drink a couple of, I love to say with every one drink, have 2 glasses of water. I think that hydration is not just to neutralize or get rid of the alcohol. It's really important to, even from every health perspective, to be continuously hydrating yourself because alcohol does dehydrate.
Another perception is that if I'm going to someone's house for a housewarming or a birthday party, or if someone is coming over, and if I serve Indian wine, or if I gift Indian wine versus, a bottle from France or Argentina, the perceived value is a lot lower. Now, are Indian wines inferior, or this is just our fixation with the West?
There are many ways to answer this question, Rahul, but also I would say that it is sort of unfair to compare a country like India, which has been producing wine now for about 2 or 3 decades, with another country that may be producing wine for 2 or 3 hundreds of years, right? Or somewhere in France, which has been producing wine for 2 or 3 thousands of years.
Okay.
So it's kind of an unfair comparison. India is on it's still learning. It's still, sort of figuring out some things. Having said that, some of the Indian wines have done very well commercially.
Yeah.
There's a few labels that have done better than others.
There's a Sula, there's a Grover.
Well, the top 3 leading wine producers are Sula, Fratelli, and Grover's. And each one of these, I would say, safely have 1 or 2 labels that have done very well.
Yeah.
I've enjoyed some of their premium wines that they offer. But the important thing here to say is that you spoke about the Indian mindset, and I think that's what's worthy of a discussion more than are the quality of the wines really fit or not. I think Indians have always been a little influenced by what the West thinks about things. If the West approves it, if the West likes it, then we automatically tend to like it and embrace it.
We seek that validation.
We seek that validation from the West. And that's not just with our drinks, it's been across all categories of things that we consume today, right? All kinds of brands.
Yeah.
I'll give you 2 quick examples. When I go to Americas and I go to a region like Napa Valley, which is such a force in the wine world, by the way, Americans are tremendously proud of their wines. They drink a lot of their own wines with a lot of pride and are the biggest ambassadors for their own wines.
Yeah.
And their wines are very proudly listed on their list. Now, you might say, okay, but Napa has a bit of a reputation and they've really earned their stripes. So I'll give you another example. I went to Croatia on holiday. And did you know Croatia makes wines, by the way?
I didn't know that.
Exactly. So the vast majority of the world doesn't even know Croatia makes wines. So I went to a couple of their wineries and I discovered their wines. And what was astonishing to find that when I went for Croatian food to some of their local restaurants, I'm not even talking about the 5-star luxury hotels, local restaurants, every Croatian restaurant had at least 4 or 5 inclusions or listings on their wine offering as Croatian wines. So even they were putting a lot of their own weight behind their own wines and doing it with a lot of pride. I find that is missing in India. I feel that our Indian restaurants, our Indian hotels don't want to do that.
But don't they always have like different varieties of Indian wines as well?
A few. But I think if you talk to the Indian wine trade, their favorite pet peeve is that the industry doesn't support us. The hospitality doesn't support us enough. And it has to start with the hospitality because they are the custodians of the wine culture.
Right.
The hotels
Sure.
do tend to be the custodians of the drinking
Sure.
culture.
Yeah.
Uh,
It's one of the
so-
main distribution networks.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, so that is there. Hopefully that's changing with time.
Yeah.
But as consumers, I would say don't be biased, don't have any prejudice. Let your own palate guide you, and you be the best judge of what you enjoy. And don't let anyone else tell you one way or the other. So you should try everything and make your own choices, make your own decisions on what you enjoy.
You mentioned California and Napa Valley. A really interesting point. I was in Madeira not too long ago.
Nice.
The island just off the coast of Portugal.
Exactly.
And one of the fun facts is that when America won its independence in the year 1776, the founding fathers toasted to Madeiran wine. So, and the country is just 250 years old. In fact, in 2026, they celebrate 250 years. So they've come a long way, is what I'm trying to say, right? From toasting Madeiran wine to now having their own legacy of fantastic wines in Napa and some of the other regions.
And Madeira wines are just extraordinary.
Yes.
And it may fascinate you to know that some of the oldest styles of wines that were imported in India back in the day, when aeroplanes and road transportation didn't even exist, and wines would be shipped and would travel long voyages, long distances over months of time. It was the port and the Madeira that used to come into India that the British first introduced into India, and Indians became exposed to as styles of wines. These were sweeter, high alcohol, fortified styles. And they were fortified with high alcohol so they could withstand these long travels.
Right.
And the alcohol would act as a preservative and prevent spoilage, early spoilage. So it's Madeira. And I think the word Madeira, which we often use colloquially to describe, or another colloquial word for alcohol per se, actually comes because of our early association with Madeira as a wine style.
Now that we're on the subject of, wine regions like Madeira, and you mentioned Napa Valley, which are some of your favorite wine regions in the world? Could be domestic within India and could be international as well.
My favorite wines of the world always end up being the region that I've visited last. It's honestly not an exaggeration to say that every country that produces wine has its great, good, bad, and ugly. It's unfair to think of only the best wines come from France or Italy. The worst wines, sadly, from India. None of that is true. Every country that I have been to, and I've had the honor and privilege of visiting many, many wine-producing countries in the world, my work takes me there. I have discovered some astonishing quality wines and equally the everyday styles. I'll give you one excellent example. My recent trip was to Chile.
Chile?
Yeah,
Okay.
Chile. Not a place people go often because it's not on the way to anywhere. It's kind of one end.
Other part of the world.
Other part of the world.
End of the world.
It took me 36 hours to get there, 36 hours of flying, so quite a bit of travel there. And a lot of the Chilean wines that are available here are not even touching the tip of the iceberg. Like, we're not even scratching the surface. What I ended up tasting in Chile would just absolutely blew my mind. They have less than 200 years of winemaking history. Forget 200 years, I'm even going too far back in time. They probably have, most of their technological progress in winemaking has happened in the last 20, 30 years. But it's astonishing to see how much they've achieved in these last 2 or 3 decades. I came back extremely inspired, very dazzled by the high quality wines that I tasted there. And I think India deserves to see more Chilean wines here. And I can give countless any such examples of countries that are producing incredible quality, all of which will increasingly become more and more available to us in the years to come, thanks to all the FTAs now that India has been signing with countries.
Yes. We'll get to that in just a minute. As India becomes more of a wine drinking country over the years, wine is also growing as an asset class, right? So what makes a wine investable? I see a lot of wealthy people putting their money in wine as an asset class.
There is a lot of snob value attached to wine as an investment asset.
Yeah.
And yes, there are a few criteria that make a wine investment worthy or a collector's item.
Which are some of the popular ones? There's Petrus and there's Romanée Conti.
A lot of the first growths from Bordeaux, some excellent high quality producers from Burgundy, a couple of names from Napa Valley, a lot of the Super Tuscans from
Mhm.
Italy,
Mhm.
and maybe a few sprinkles from Spain and Chile and here and there. These are the ones that, and of course, some high quality vintage ports from Portugal. They are what dominate the investment with the investment grade wine portfolios.
Mhm.
A couple of things that make a wine investment worthy is firstly, they're always made in tiny quantities.
Mhm.
So at any given point in time, the demand always oversees the supply, and that is what makes them more desirable.
Yeah.
The other thing is most of them are made by producers that enjoy a certain legacy. They've historically and over time proven consistent quality in the glass time and again.
Mhm.
So they have that track record
Mhm.
of producing incredible quality, but also benefit from that historical legacy and
Mhm.
tradition that goes with it. Uh, the third is they have to be wines that can age. Because unless these are wines that cannot mature into something more complex, something better, uh, how will the value of that go up?
Sure.
One is that the value will go up because there are fewer bottles. As more bottles get
Yeah.
uncorked, fewer of
Yeah.
those remain.
Mhm.
But also the quality has to um, get better. And that comes from the maturity. Wine is one of those few things in the world that actually improves. I'm talking about only the finest wines of the world, by the way.
Sure.
It's important I emphasize it's only the fine wines here that I talk about and not your everyday drinking wines. But the finest wines are among the few things in the world
Mhm.
that improve after they're bottled. They
Got it.
mature after they're bottled.
And which are some of the platforms where I can go and trade wine like that, right? If I have all the money in the world and if I want to buy one of these investable bottles of wine or, have it as an investment asset class.
I would advise you to proceed with caution. There have been quite a few stories where people have lost money and have been ill advised in this line of work.
Mhm.
But also, I would advise people not to put a disproportionate amount of their disposable income in
Of
wine
course. Of
investments.
course. Yeah.
I would say no more than 10% of your entire investment portfolio.
That's still a lot.
That's still a lot, I
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
But no more for
Yeah.
sure. And that's again for people who are really geeky about wines, that
Right.
really love wines with a passion.
Mhm.
One of the very important and the most recognized platforms is LiveX.
Mhm.
LiveX is almost like an NSE or a BSE.
Okay.
It gives you the stock prices.
Okay.
It gives you the prices of wines as they
Right.
move up and down.
Sure.
So it's a more transparent system, unlike art, for example,
Right.
where there is no platform that
Sure.
regulates
Right.
the price of art.
Got it.
But at least wine has such a platform called
Mhm.
LiveX. So that livex.com could be an interesting platform.
Interesting. That's good
go
to know.
check out.
Good to know to check out. I want to quickly touch upon whiskey as well. A bulk of our conversation has been, of course, around wine, but whiskey is having its moment as well. We're the largest consumers of whiskey in the world, in India, right?
right.
We're a whiskey drinking nation.
That is it.
And there's always a time for a good drink, recession, wars, good economy, bad economy. Everybody wants a glass of whiskey. So what's your view on the whiskey scene here? How do you talked about, blended whiskey and single malt. What's the difference there, if you can just explain that?
So India drinks half of the world's whiskey,
Uh-huh.
and we drink more whiskey than Scotland produces.
Okay.
So our love affair with whiskey doesn't seem to be fading anytime soon.
Yeah.
And like we said earlier, there are some absolute world-class whiskeys that are being produced in India now.
Mm-hmm.
When we started off making our whiskeys, they were all molasses-based,
Yes.
which is actually not a whiskey at all, because you use molasses to make rum
Yes.
and not to make whiskey.
Yeah.
Whiskey has to be made with grains.
Yes.
And so when it's made with a variety of grains,
Mm-hmm.
like wheat or
Mhm.
corn
Mm-hmm.
or barley, when it's made with a mixture of these, and it comes from different distilleries, which master distillers then blend
Yeah.
to create like one amazing blend,
Mm-hmm.
which is smooth, approachable. It's often called a blended whiskey,
Okay.
exactly as the name suggests.
Got it.
But when a single distillery decides to make something on their own, which is an expression of what they represent, and it's made at a single distillery, it uses only malted barley, and there is no other grain that is used.
Yeah.
It's only barley that goes into making it. And it is matured in Scotland.
Right.
It is called Scottish single malt whiskey.
A lot of the older crowd, the uncles who we refer to them as, they like their Chivas Regals and Black Labels.
Yes.
So those are blended
Those are blended whiskeys.
whiskies.
And the single malt whiskeys are the Macallans and
And the younger generation tends to prefer those. Why is that?
I think it's a bit fashionable. I think the word single malt has become a bit of a branded label.
Right.
I can stylistically tell you that whilst blended whiskeys tend to be more smoother, more approachable, more sort of easy drinking on the
Yeah.
palate,
Mm-hmm.
because the production process is such that
Mhm.
it allows them to become like that.
Right.
The single malt whiskey production process is a bit more traditional.
Mhm.
It uses copper pot stills,
Yeah.
which retain some of the complexity. So single malt whiskeys tend to be more pronounced, more richer, more robust as compared to blended whiskeys.
Mhm.
And so I would say if you want to enjoy a single malt whiskey, it's probably best enjoyed neat or on a cube of ice or maybe with a few drops of water,
Right.
just to be able to experience what the distiller actually intended to make.
Sure.
So you get a sense of his expression that he wanted to put out there. Whereas blended whiskeys are great on their own, of course, with soda, with over dilution, exactly like the Indians like it,
Yeah.
or even on cocktails.
Yeah. There's also another, during my research, it came up that Indian whiskeys mature faster than the Scotch counterparts because of our weather.
Yes.
How true is that?
It's very true. I mean, Indian climate is much, much more tropical as compared to Japan or compared to Scotland, which is much more wetter and cooler. And so what may take 5 or 6 years in Scotland to produce by way of concentration and depth and complexity probably takes half the amount of time in India because we are much warmer.
Sure.
But I like to often think of it in comparison terms as slow cooking versus fast cooking.
Okay.
You know, a lot of Asian food is fast cooking.
Yeah.
It's still delicious, don't
Yeah.
get me wrong,
Mm-hmm.
but produces more rich, more flavorsome, more robust sort of flavors.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas slow cooking produces more depth and, you know, the nuances, the layers, which is incredible.
So one isn't necessarily better than the other.
I like to not try and enforce that on people.
Yeah.
I like to encourage people to try everything, try both,
Mhm.
and see which one you like. I know a lot of people who are enjoying richer, more robust Indian whiskies.
Mhm.
And I think Indian malt makers or single malt distilleries are deliberately looking to create those styles. The tropical climate aging is definitely aiding
Mhm.
that stylistic vision. But also they are diluted much lesser than Scottish whiskies. So Scottish
it.
whiskies you'll see are often at 40% ABV.
Mhm.
And an Indian single malt whiskey is often at 46, 48%. That's
What's,
not,
what's ABV?
ABV stands for alcohol by volume.
Okay.
So what that directly correlates to is how much alcohol there is in the bottle. So if a bottle says there's 40% in a 1 liter bottle, it means 400 ml content in that bottle is pure alcohol. It's
Alcohol.
pure ethanol,
Got it.
right? So Indian producers are deliberately diluting their whiskeys lesser
Yeah.
to keep the more richer, the more robust, the
Sure.
more overt
Right.
expression of the whiskey. Because if they want, they can dilute it down to 40%. But then they
Right.
will end up with something much mellower.
Right.
And I think Indian distillers don't want that. I think
Right.
we are trying to create something very distinctive,
Right.
distinctively Indian. And I think that's not necessarily a bad thing.
Right. And you take a lot of international flights. I take a lot of international flights. And that sort of dilution is definitely not happening on flights because every time I get on a flight, I see, a few people who will completely knock themselves out and have one drink after the other. And is there a rule of thumb that, what you're drinking here on ground is equivalent to like 3 drinks on a flight because of the...
I wouldn't like to put a math to it, but what I can most certainly tell you is that we naturally, as human beings, tend to be a bit more dehydrated on the plains at 35,000 feet above sea level as compared to on ground.
Yeah.
We anyway forget to drink water.
Yeah.
And anyway, that air is dry
Yeah.
and it kind of saps us out. And so every time we take a drink,
Mhm.
our body does tend to absorb it faster, including the alcohol and
Right.
including the fluid along with it.
Mhm.
So if you are drinking neat,
Yeah.
you're going to get high pretty fast. And then you certainly don't want to be in the media for all the wrong reasons, as we
Yes.
often read, right?
Yeah.
So you certainly don't want to make it to the headlines for these
Sure.
reasons.
So maybe
So I
stick
would-
to 1 or 2 drinks.
I would strongly advise take 1 or 2 drinks just for the enjoyment. You want to discover what's on offer, but don't treat it like a freeloading party.
Sure.
And definitely drink with caution and eat some food and drink some water.
There
I
you go.
cannot overemphasize this enough. I keep saying this. It's almost become like a boring message to give out. But it sounds full.
It's common sense, but common sense is uncommon, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah. So now we want to, it's been a fantastic conversation, but we just have we have a section called Plush Off the Cuff, which is our version of the rapid fire. So I'll just shoot a few questions and feel free to answer. This is our fun, light
Do
segment.
you have a hamper to give me at the end?
I do have something to give you.
Okay, excellent. Well, I'm on then.
Great. Okay, let's start with this. Plush Off the Cuff. Best city or town in the world for a solo or romantic wine evening with your partner?
London.
London? I would have thought Paris or one of these other
No,
romantic.
I'm not. Sorry. Not
Yeah?
a big fan of Paris.
Okay.
London.
One wine you'd choose to drink for the rest of your life.
Sorry. Cannot. I decline. One wine I chose to drink for the rest of my life. No, I didn't do all of this in the wine trade.
Okay,
Only end up with one wine.
You got to have a favorite though, or maybe different occasions call for different kind of favorite wines.
Yes, indeed.
So name 2 or 3 different styles.
The oldest wine I've ever drank in my life was an 1867 Chateau Lafite. So if I had to be marooned on an island and I had to end up with one wine, I would probably just keep sipping on that wine. It was outrageously delicious. It's not available anymore though. It's a highly rare collectible item.
Okay. I think you may have mentioned this before, but one food pairing rule you think that's completely rubbish.
White wine with white meat and red wine with red meat. And drink red wines at room temperature, regardless of which country you're in.
This one should be interesting. A piece of advice for someone, especially a woman, who wants to follow your path.
Go for it. Totally. And not everyone's path needs to be like mine. There's no one route to success. Follow your own path, listen to your own inner voice, and pursue your dreams relentlessly. And you'll get to where you want to get to.
How do they make this a sustainable career?
There are, the alcobev industry is booming at the moment. We're one of the fastest growing industries and one of the countries that is offering the fastest alcobev scene in the world. So there's a number of opportunities. You can be an educator, you can be an event coordinator, you could be a content creator, you could start your own business, you could be making wine, you could be working for an importer, you could be doing n number of things in the alcobev. There's so much room for creativity and talent.
Okay, and our final one, and this is a bit tongue-in-cheek. Wine, whiskey, gin, champagne, rum, vodka, tequila, the biggest aphrodisiac.
My mind stopped at champagne. I stopped hearing you after that. So I go with champagne because it's wine for the kings and the king of all wines.
There you go. Thank you so much, Sonal. This has been wonderful. And no hamper to be won here, but we do have our Plush gift set for you. That's our brand. That's for you. And
oh, wow.
Yeah.
Love the packaging.
Thank you so much.
And I like the logo.
Yes, thank you so much.
Done. May I open it?
Yes, please. It's just, we have a line of travel and lifestyle accessories. Sorry, it's a little
nice. Right.
We got this from one of the artisans in the Gujarat region. It's,
very pretty.
Yeah.
Very pretty.
Handcrafted. And yeah, that's for your next travel. It's a passport case. It also holds your AirPods.
My next travel is to Edinburgh.
Uh-huh.
So I'll be visiting some Scotland distilleries. And the one after that is to Dublin.
Uh-huh.
So I'll be visiting some Irish distilleries. And the one after that is to New Zealand, where I'll be visiting some fantastic wineries.
Nice.
I'll be looking forward to taking my passport in this one. I love the feel of the leather, by the way. Thank you very much. And I have something for you as well. And here's a signed copy of my book,
Thank you.
1 in a Billion. This talks about my journey to how I became India's first master of wine, but also how I spent the next decade after becoming that in building the wine business and working towards building a thriving culture for wine and beverages as a whole in India, a country I'm very, very proud of.
Thank you so much. Well, I must tell you that I love receiving books as gifts. So I'm really touched and honored, and especially if it's a signed copy. So thank you so much. You are really 1 in a billion, and I look forward to some interesting bedtime reading.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.